What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe as you come into the channel. Check out the content. And I want to speak on a post that came across my timeline, right? And the post was a discussion that people were starting about who was a better guard. Was it Kenny Anderson or was it Dwayne Pearl Washington, right? And I was like, wow, that's a tough question, and that's the question that I'm posing to you. Like, if y'all old enough to have seen Pearl Washington and Kenny Anderson, man, I want y'all to chime in on this, right? Pearl Washington, I remember him in college at Syracuse. Pearl was a bad dude, man, a smooth point guard who could handle the ball. Um, he could shoot. I mean, he ain't score a lot. Pearl was more of a floor general, right? In my opinion, he was more of a floor general. Um, and both of these guys, like those New York guards, they had that flair to their game. Both, like they just had that flair to their game. Both of these guys, Capat, Kenny Anderson. I remember Kenny Anderson also coming out of New York. Kenny Anderson played at Georgia Tech. I think he only played 1 year at Georgia Tech. And Kenny Anderson was bad, man. Now, by the time I had watched Pearl Washington, right? Like I said, he was at Syracuse. And I was just getting starting to follow basketball. And so by the time Kenny Anderson came along, also out of New York, and man, Kenny Anderson was bad. Like I said, he only played 1 year. It's tough, in my opinion, to say who's a better guard. I think Kenny Anderson had a longer professional career. He played at. I'm not sure. I know he played for the Nets. He played. Kenny Anderson played with at least about 3 or 4 different teams. I can't recall Pearl Washington. He had a decent NBA career, but man, in college, Pearl Washington at Syracuse, he was bad. He was bad, man. But when this kid Kenny Anderson hit Georgia Tech, and all the hype that came with him being like another New York guard, all the hype that came with him, he definitely delivered. To watch now, and Kenny Anderson, in my opinion, he could pat, and he wasn't as much of a floor general because he was more he scored. He liked to score. Now he'll penetrate and dish the ball off, right? Who did he play with? Did he play with Bruce Dalrymple? Kenny Anderson, I know he played with Dennis Scott, and I think it was Bruce Dalrymple at Georgia Tech. Those three. And Dennis Scott wound up going to the NBA, having a really good NBA career because he could shoot lights out. But Kenny Anderson, man, he was the man at Georgia Tech for that year. He was down there. He was more of a scorer, though. And that's the thing. You compare a scorer, a shoot first guard, to a floor general type point guard. And like in college at Georgia Tech, I'm trying to think. At Syracuse, when Pearl played at Syracuse, he had so much talent around him. His job was just to feed all that talent and make sure everybody was in a position to score. You know what? I ain't even look up. I forgot some of the guys that played with Pearl Washington at Syracuse, but this at Syracuse, this is when the Big East was just, you had Syracuse, Georgetown, St. John's, Providence, man, all those colleges in the Big East, it was just so much talent, and Pearl Washington stood out. In that Big East, man, he definitely stood out in that Big East when it came to talent. Then you got Kenny Anderson, played in the ACC. Kenny Anderson was definitely, in my opinion, when he was at Georgia Tech, he was head and shoulders as a freshman. He was head and shoulders above all the guards that was in the ACC as a freshman. Only had to play 1 year. They went to and Georgia Tech went to the tournament. I think they had some. They didn't win it all, but they had, they won a couple games in the tournament. But Kenny Anderson, just to watch him when he hit that when he touched down in Georgia Tech, man, everybody knew he wasn't gonna stay long. This kid was he was out of there for real, man. But who was a better point guard? I don't know. It just depends on like what do you want out of a point guard? What do you like out of a point guard? If you like somebody like Pearl Washington who was a floor general and got everybody involved, then you're going to go with Pearl Washington, right? If you like point guards who are shoot first type point guards and can draw the defense and then hit the open man, then you're going to go with Kenny Anderson. Man, so if I had to make a choice, I think I will go with Pearl. Honestly, I think I will go with Pearl. I'm more of an old school type of, you know what I mean? I like the old school guards. I like those guards who get their teammates involved, who was a floor general. So I would go with Pearl over and I you know what I mean, over Kenny Anderson. I definitely would go with Pearl because that is that to me is like more conducive for winning basketball. Like with a point guard, that's like a pure point guard who can get everybody involved in the game, set you up in your spots where as though you could be more successful on the court. And that was Pearl. Like I said, Kenny Anderson, shoot first, you know what I mean? He'll draw the defense to him because Kenny Anderson can get to anywhere on the court. Even though he's not a big guy, he was crafty with the ball. It's like he had the ball on the string. He can get to anywhere on the court. And he was left-handed and he was hard to stop. Well, I ain't never seen nobody like can stop him from getting where he wanted to get. But he'll penetrate and dish the ball off. That was his style of play. Whereas though Pearl would to penetrate and dish the ball, but he gonna run your offense. And when he give you the ball, you probably most likely gonna get a layup or a short jump or something like that. But I'm going with Pearl though, man. New York though has always had, in my opinion, New York always had some really good guards. Um, One of my favorite guards coming out of New York, probably my favorite guard coming out of New York, got to be Rod Strickland. Rod Strickland was bad. Then you had Kenny Smith. Kenny Smith was Kenny Smith was bad. Oh man, Steph Marbury. Then you got Marbury and his nephew. What's the Sebastian Telfair? New York has always been known for having good guards. The kid, what's his name? Shangard, guard Shangard, Rayful Austin. Man, I know I'm probably forgetting somebody. A ton of guards came out of New York. Oh man, what was the guy that went to Indiana Pacers? And it was the guy who wound up at the Indiana Pacers. What was his name? He a coach in the league now too. Tisdale. I forgot Tisdale first name. He was a bad guard, and I didn't even really know about Tisdale until he got to the league because he had went to school. With Tisdale went to school, I think like in Missouri or somewhere, out of New York, and we ain't follow those schools. I forgot, but that dude Tisdale was nice. New York, like I said, New York has always been known to produce like exceptional guards, but these two guards right here, oh damn, Mark Jackson. How the hell I'm forgetting about Mark Jackson? Mark Jackson was another one that was tough, man. Yeah, them guards out of New York, man, just was a main jack. But these two right here, I really enjoyed watching them, man. It's especially in their college years, because they got to in college they got to really their game was really you got to see more of their game, highlighted in college than you did by the time they got to the pros, man. And like I said, Kenny Anderson, in my opinion, probably had a better professional career than Pearl. But Pearl, because I think Pearl wasn't as much of a scorer as he needed to be, at that next level. And so Kenny Anderson was a scorer. And so he had a longer, probably a better career at the in the NBA than Pearl. But man, Pearl was a bad dude. So I'm taking Pearl. Y'all let me know, who you taking and why. Like I said, I'm taking Pearl because Pearl was a floor general. Old school guard, ran the offense, and got everybody involved. Nobody, if you run it with Pearl, nobody was unhappy, man, because Pearl spread that wealth. So I'm going with Pearl. Let me know, man, who y'all like. You like Kenny Anderson or do you like Pearl Washington? With that being said, make sure to like and subscribe. Also, don't forget to leave a comment, and I'll check you all out in the next video. Peace.